a U.S. government agency. We're the U.S. government's African enterprise agency. We like to think of it in that way. We invest directly in grassroots, small and growing businesses, community organizations, women and youth entrepreneurship programs, investing directly in them, really to promote local economic development, community-led, community-driven development in Africa. And we ultimately want to create pathways to prosperity for underserved populations. We came about almost 30 years ago as sort of looking at development done differently. What would it take to really invest directly in African organizations, African institutions, and also have that grant financing, but also link it to local technical assistance. So real local ownership of development. And so when we look at the SDGs, there's a number of them that we align with. First and foremost is the goal 1 of poverty eradication, really no more poverty. But then the other ones that are really speak to our work and the things that we support and then we invest in go to goal 2, which is about hunger. Goal 5, gender equality. Obviously, with an Africa focus, women and girls and youth are essential to economic development and community development. And so investing in gender equality, clean water. Again, we think about rural transformation. How are we moving people out of poverty? So clean water is another area. Increasingly more with goal 7, which is about affordable energy. So we think a lot around off-grid energy solutions, and we invest and support African energy entrepreneurs, giving them grant financing, link them with local project management support to use the sun, to use wind, to use water, to really power up their lives and to really create local economic development. And then goal 8, decent work and economic growth. Obviously, it's essential to our focus. And with goal 2, in terms of food security, goal 12 links to that. Goal 12 is about sustainable consumption and production. And so this is how 70% of Africans produce their incomes and their livelihoods through the agricultural value chain. So real sustainable production and thinking about production that really leads to, again, decent work, and those issues are really important to our efforts. And ultimately, all this comes together with 17 with partnerships. And so that's why I'm really, really proud to be a partner with Africa Philanthropy Forum, but also other entities and organizations. So we think about our work, it's driven through communities, but we link to corporations, and we also link to countries' development plans. So partnership is essential for us to be successful.
Thank you. And Selo, in your work, heading the Nelson Mandela Foundation, talk to us about how your work also fits into the Sustainable Development Goals.
Well, thank you very much. Being the foundation that was established by Madiba, it's difficult to say we do this one because Madiba used to do anything and everything that came through the door. But we try and respond in a way that then says we're still within the mandate that he gave us. He gave us a three-pronged mandate when he established the foundation, dealing with human rights, the issue of democracy, and peace building. Now, we then have to, for us to achieve these, we have to then collaborate more with many institutions. And with the work that we've been doing in July, for example, where our focus is on Mandela Day, you then have to, we chose to focus on poverty and inequality, dealing with shelter and education. And with those, we try and influence how access to education is not just about the classroom, it's also about ensuring that you respond to what would be an environment, creating an environment that's conducive for that. Many of you will know of the 2 cases of 2 5-year-olds who died in pit latrines. So for Mandela Day, we are collaborating with the Department of Basic Education at the moment to try and deal with these pit latrines in honor of Madiba's 100th anniversary, to see if within the centenary we won't eradicate those toilets, the pit latrines. So it's again just not literacy, but also creating a conducive environment for education too.
Great. So we've heard about poverty eradication, we've heard about quality education, we've heard about gender equality. So, I mean, rarely does an organization focus on just one of the SDGs, and clearly they're all interlinked. But within the work that you do, I think it would be important to draw out maybe some of the innovative ways in which you're approaching your work, which could demonstrate, I suppose, examples of excellence and innovation in tackling some of these very intractable challenges.
So I think we always say that our core work of the Cyril Ramaphosa Foundation is around model building. And with the knowledge that we would not be able to implement in every area that needs, but if we can build a model that can be then moved and taken in by many organizations, both in South Africa and across Africa. So what we've done with two models, if I could speak about those quickly, the one is our entrepreneurship project, organization called Black Umbrellas. So Black Umbrellas is around creating a model around how incubation can impact on SMMEs. And I think what has really been good there is we think we've now perfected this model, or we've got a very good model that can start going to scale, that can look at going into other African countries, certainly. But what we really did there, and I think the key thing about model building is setting out right at the beginning what you want to achieve. So we put a 10-year success plan. What would this organization and what would the businesses that came through our incubator look like? And that helped us to strive. I know our first staff thought we were mad. They thought they would never achieve those things. But we're at a point now where we are achieving them. And I think the model is around a number of issues. Part of our success has been around selection. And I should say model building it's a nice way to allow you to make mistakes. Check those mistakes, amend it, and keep doing better. So some of the stuff that we're doing now, we've probably only learned in year 3, year 4 of the model. But selection is critical, and there we've got, I think, 2 ways of doing it that we've looked at. The one is around doing psychometric testing that measures the potential of the business. And this psychometric test doesn't take into consideration education. It's one of those that are neutral to education. So it's not measuring your skills, but it's measuring your potential to create and maintain businesses. That's the one thing. And the other thing is that the businesses that come into the incubator must be coachable. And that is found on the one-on-one intervention. So the one-on-one engagements before they are selected, and a pre-incubation phase that we added on in about year 3. So year 3, we did this pre-incubation, which allowed the businesses to test, to see whether they were ready to come into the incubation and whether we thought they were the correct organizations. And what we've seen now, we're in year 6 of proper operation. It took us 4 years for our businesses collectively that we had incubated. And I should say our incubation is a 3-year program. It took us 4 years to get to a collective turnover of all the businesses that have been incubated of R1 billion. That R1 billion doubled in 1 year. And in the last 4 months, we've added another 600 million. So those are the sort of...
I'm glad everybody's clapping because those are very impressive results.
Yeah.
But before you finish, just linked my next question to push you, it would be, how do you measure then impact and the results of what you do? For example, to be able to know that the turnover of these businesses exceeds, you must have certain metrics in place. So how do you do that?
So I think one of the things that across all the entities is about measurement and ensuring that we know at any given time how we are measuring up against a number of indicators. So there's a difference between what we measure and then the long-term impact, and we measure those differently. But we set in place, one of the things our incubators provide are bookkeepers. So one of the conditions of the businesses coming into our incubation for 3 years is that those bookkeepers will do their books for them, empower them on how to do it, but it allows us to get the information as well. So on any given month, Sia Pei, who's here, who's the CEO of Black Umbrellas, she will report to us at a board level. She'll be able to tell us the number of jobs created, what the NAV of the businesses are, how much tax those businesses have paid. And I'm just going through some, but there are about 15 measurements that we measure on a monthly basis. Businesses who are not prepared to come to the party, who don't want to show their books, etc., we then have to let go, because our model is clear. This is about creating sustainable businesses that will outlive our incubation, that will outlive the founder, and go on to change the economy of the country. So that's one of the ways we measure there. But that model is something that we think now is great. We think it's ready to go certainly into other areas. We're looking having the president as your chairperson is quite a challenge. So we are in 8 incubators, and he announced at our NEDA Awards, we award our businesses every year. At the National Enterprise Development Awards, he announced that we would have 100 of these places very soon. And that would have terrified us just a year ago. But I think the way we've built the model, we are able to do that now, and we will be innovative. So we're wanting to, for example, build some of these incubators and link them to the TVETs. So the TVETs are the technical and vocational training centers. We're thinking we would also want to work in universities, but we think if we can do that in TVETs, we can really transform skills development and how it links to entrepreneurship as well. So there are all sorts of exciting initiatives there. But also CFA has been traveling to a number of other countries in Africa to say, how do we work with other organizations? How do we share our lessons learned? How do we share so that other people don't have to make the same mistakes we made in a 6-year process? So I still wanted to talk about education, but I've spoken a lot. So I don't know if you want to...
So hold that thought. We'll come back to your work in education. Yeah. Sidi, coming to you, you talked about the importance of local economic development within the context of the SDGs. But tell us, what is your... what is the sort of the unique model or approach that you use in your work, your secret sauce? Yes.
No, I think it's a great question, and it really is our approach to development. So as an external entity to Africa, the U.S. government funded, our funding comes from Congress. So we're appropriated funds every year, and we have a unique mandate that really is about African ownership and African ownership of their own development agenda and their challenges. So we're not in Washington, D.C. or other entities that may be in London or Brussels and deciding what's best for local economic development in Africa. We get our cues and we respond to local-driven demand. So first and foremost, being demand responsive is really unique to how we approach development. The community needs, and we take proposals and we solicit and bring about the opportunity for communities to tell us what their challenges are. Going through the SDGs and all the issues that communities may have, all of them may be top of mind, but really focusing on what the communities, what their needs are, and being responsive to that, and co-creating solutions with them. And in co-creating solutions, we provide 2 real key assets. We provide grant financing, so this is up to $200